All right, so in this lesson, I'm going to be talking about multiplying polynomials. The standard is pretty straightforward. Add, subtract, and multiply polynomials. So I've already covered adding and subtracting. Now we're covering multiplying, okay? And so I've got a little lecture for you here, a little lesson. The goal is to multiply polynomials. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so our first example is a monomial times a monomial. So you want to get used to multiplying monomials. So you got 6 times 6k to the fourth times negative k squared. So anytime you see a negative in front of a variable, there's understood to be a 1 there. So you've got 6 times negative 1 is going to be negative 6. And then k to the fourth times k squared is going to be k to the sixth. Okay? So you add the powers if you're multiplying like basis. So k to the fourth times k squared is going to be k to the sixth. So this one, if you don't mind, pause the video, try it out on your own. So assuming you've done that, 3 times 5 is going to be 15. So you just multiply the coefficients. Y to the fifth times y to the fourth is going to be y to the ninth, right? So you add those powers. And then again, try this one out on your own. So hopefully you've done that. You've got negative 1 times 7, which is negative 7. And then b to the seventh times b to the fourth is going to be b to the 11th. And that's really it for just multiplying monomials. It gets a little tougher, so I'd like to introduce this. But it's really essentially the same thing with more than one number. But you'll get questions like this, where it says a rectangle has a height of 7x squared and a width of 3x squared plus 8x plus 7. And so the goal here is to express the area of the entire rectangle with a polynomial. So if you think about this, you're multiplying 7x squared, which is this length, by each one of these individual bits. So you've got 7x squared times 3x squared. Well, 7 times 3 is 21. I'm going to put that down here, 21. And then x squared times x squared is going to be x to the fourth if I add those powers. So 21x to the fourth. And then 7x squared times 8x is going to be 56x cubed. And then finally, 7x squared times 7 is going to be 49x squared. And let me write that a little neater. So that's 56. And I've got 2 of these for us. So in case that was a little confusing, try and go back, do it on your own. And then what you got here is you've got a few more. And it says a rectangle has a height of 4w cubed, so that's its height, and a width of 5w squared minus 3w minus 4. And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to distribute 4w cubed to each one of these numbers. So 4 times 5 is going to be 20. W cubed times w squared is going to be w to the fifth, so 3 plus 2. 4w squared, 4w cubed times negative 3w is going to be negative 12w to the fourth. And anytime you have a w alone, its power is understood to be 1. So if I didn't mention that, I meant to, and I don't think I mentioned that. Yeah, so up here, x to the first, right, the reason I got, and that should be cubed. So let me fix that. Sorry, 56x cubed, 49x squared. 7x squared, x squared times x to the first, you add those 2 powers and you get x cubed. All right, so you got 4w cubed times negative 4, which is going to give me negative 16w cubed. And that's all you do. You just multiply and you add the powers. And if you can do that, you should be good. And then you'll get stuff like this. where you'll have to use the distributive property more than once. So it says to expand. When it says expand, that means to multiply it out and see what you get. So on this one, you're not multiplying by a monomial, you're multiplying by a binomial times a trinomial. So you got 2a squared times a, which is going to give you 2a to the third, and then 2a squared, you're going to multiply that by -5, which is going to be -10a squared. So once you're done with that first number, you can stop multiplying it and multiply the second one. So I've got 7a times a, which is going to be 7a squared, and then 7a times -5, which is going to be -35a. And then we've got one more to do. So I'm going to distribute -10. So you distribute each one of these guys twice to these two. So I've got -10 times a, which is -10a. And then -10 times -5 is 50. Okay? 2a cubed. I've got -10a squared plus 7a squared is -3a squared. And then -35a minus 10 is -45a plus 50. And that is your answer. Once you have combined all the like terms, and like terms are the ones that have the same powers. So I want to state that too. Once you've combined all like terms, you're good. So the reason why we combine those is because a squared and a squared, they have the same base and the same power, so I can add the coefficients. So that's where I got -3, -10 plus 7 is -3. And then over here I've got -35 minus 10a, so they have the same power. They're to the first power. Yeah. To the first power. So -35 minus 10 is going to be -45a. And so I've got just a few more here for you. So I'm going to do this one. So I want you to pause the video, try it out for yourself, and then I'll run through it. So hopefully you've had a chance to work it out. -8a squared times 3a squared is going to be -24a to the fourth. And then you've got -8a squared times -5 is going to be positive 40a squared. So anytime you're multiplying a constant by some power, it's just the same power, so it just continues. And then -1, I'm going to distribute -1 next. -1 times 3a squared is -3a squared. -1 times -5 is positive 5. So I've got -24a to the fourth. 40a squared minus 3a squared is 37a squared plus 5. And that is the answer. So I combine those like terms. 40a squared, 40 minus 3 is 37. And then I've got one last problem to do. So I've got 3c plus 2 times c squared minus 6c minus 4. So we're going to distribute that one out. So I encourage you to work this out on your own for a second. And then I'll go over the solution. Okay, so hopefully you've had some time to do that. So 3c times c squared is going to be 3c to the third. 3c times -6 is going to be -18c squared. So c to the first times c to the first, add the 2. 1 plus 1 is 2. So then 3c times -4 is -12c. And I'm done with that one. So then I can move on to the constant term. So I'm going to multiply 2 by each one of these guys, and then I'm going to combine like terms. So I've got plus 2c squared, so 2 times c squared is 2c squared, so plus 2c squared. And actually I'll show you what I like to do with these so I can keep them straight. So plus 2c squared, and then I'm going to add it to -18c squared in a minute. And then 2 times -6c is going to be -12c again. Yeah, that makes sense. And then 2 times -4 is -8. So now I want to add these across. So 3c cubed doesn't have a like term, so I'm going to bring him down. So I've got 3c cubed. Negative 18 plus 2 is going to be negative 16c squared. Negative 12 minus 12 is going to be negative 24c. And then minus 8. And that is it. That is all that I'm going to ask you to do for multiplying polynomials. Really, I hope that helps, but your goal is to multiply polynomials. It meets that standard, and these are the types of problems that you're going to get. So we'll do some whiteboard problems if you're in class and see how you're doing, and you can always look back on these. Thanks. Bye.